Welcome to Radical Stories, a channel where normal people like you, me, we can talk and we can express ourselves about our past life or current life. And I would like to introduce you my friend Jimmy. Come on, Jimmy.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, my friend.
How you
Have a
doing,
seat, my friend.
Thank you.
And
I will. Yes.
I met Jimmy in Leominster, Massachusetts, and we were talking about, life. And all of a sudden, he started telling me a little bit about his life, and wow, it turns everything like very interesting moment. And I would love to share that story with you. Go ahead, Jim.
Hi, my name is Jimmy. I have a very interesting life. You know, I was known as the Wolf, and I have a book out called Wolf, A Hustler Story. It's very interesting. It takes you from studying the Diamond District of St. Petersburg, Florida, and the Diamond District of Massachusetts and other different states that I travel in, and how I was able to hustle these things I took and accumulated just so that I can survive. And I started at a very young age. I was 14 years old.
14 years old when you start doing bad things.
Well,
Can you describe us like something?
Okay, so when I was 14, my father had certain beliefs. He was practicing a religious, and so I went against his beliefs and his practice, and that caused friction between him and I. Eventually, it boiled over, and he said to me, you can't be disrespecting my house. There's only one man underneath this roof. I didn't pay it attention. Next you know, the following day, him and I got into an argument. It spilled out to the yard, and I knew I had to leave, so I ran away from home to go stay with my two older brothers who have been established.
Wow. So, literally, you were like in a very critical age.
Yes.
A point of your life when we are like kind of erratic and we need directions.
Right.
We don't. I mean, obviously, religion is very important aspect in our life, but sometimes we need, instead of a religious man, we need a friend, a father,
and a friend, and someone to help you understand what it is that he's trying to get you to understand, instead of trying to force the doctrines of that on you. And so him and I never had that, so I never understood exactly what it was, what direction he wanted me to go in, and exactly what it was he was trying to teach me. Because every time he taught me something, it basically was a beating. Yeah, you did this wrong, has a beating. The straps, you go down the basement, you can't get nothing to eat for a couple of days. So I was at that stage. I was trying to understand what was going on, but I didn't know what it was he was trying to get me to understand.
And you ended up at your brother's house.
Yeah, to my two brothers' house.
What they were doing?
Well, both of them was into the drug game. They were selling heroin. So they was into the life, heroin, music, women, smoking marijuana, just living the street life. So that I had a sense of freedom there. I wasn't...
Freedom.
Yeah, I felt the liberty. Like I wasn't obligated to anything. Wasn't nobody trying to tell me to do this. And I had my own run of the mill. I was able to do what I wanted to do. And I was 14 now. What do I know? So that freedom, I didn't know how to handle it. And so I got caught up in the life, as they call the life, And I became a hustler because I had to survive.
And remember, this is the 70s. So very, very traumatic time in USA. We had like Vietnam War, the
flow of cocaine, the drugs is coming in. It wasn't high security. It wasn't a whole lot of cameras. We talk about the 70s, so they didn't have cameras everywhere. It wasn't no cell phone. There wasn't no high technology jumping around in the city and in the towns and to the store. So me being able to do what I do, I have more freedom to do that because I wasn't under the eye watch of the cameras as people are today.
And you saw that potential market where? How?
Downtown St. Petersburg, Florida, in the jewelry stores, antique stores, stores like that. I was able to go inside and build a comfort with these people that own these stores, establish trust and understanding. And I took that to my advantage to be able to slip behind counters, open up counters, reach inside, take cases of diamond rings out, take cases of like 10 Krugerrand coins, which is a value at that time was $500 for each Krugerrand. So if I got 10 of them, that was like $5,000.
And that was in a vacational like location.
Right,
like
Florida
tourism.
Florida was a tourist vacation land.
Everybody relaxed and not paying really attention because
Right.
that's kind of like that huge amount of money in the 70s, is a lot of money for 15 years old.
Yes, it is. That's a lot of money. I think on a comparison, $5,000 back then compared to today probably would equal up to what, $25,000 in that.
Imagine that.
Yes. So everything costed nothing. So I'm got $5,000 in my hand. And I'm still doing this. I'm learning the craft too, because now I'm dealing with jewelries, rubies, sapphire, diamonds, gold, platinum, old coins, old paper money, antiques. So I'm stealing these things, and I didn't want it. I wanted to get the best of the money that I can out of it. So I would read the books on these items and understand and learn exactly what they were.
Gathering information.
Right, gathering information so I can get the best. Like they say, information is money. So the more information I got, the more money that I was able to accumulate for those items. And doing that for like years and years in and out. That's how I lived. That was my source of income, was going out hustling, getting diamonds, getting these items. That's how I lived. It was my job.
That feeling of liberty and power with the money trigger you to what?
To get involved into that life, and eventually that life got me involved with drugs. Because that's all a part of that life. You're out there with the hustlers, the players, the pimps, the different four elements in the street. You're going to get caught up in the elements of the street. It's drugs too, and incarceration. It all is one thing. So I had experienced all that in the life that I was in.
And I started using another type of drugs. So.
Right, I started using, I was smoking the marijuana, the marijuana is okay, but then as time went by, when I started making these $5,000 and $8,000 once a day, or maybe twice a week, I lived in a hotel, called the Cheyenne Social Club, and I was throwing what they call players parties, open, at the hotel, 10, 20 people coming in and music, the liquor's flowing, there's a lot of ladies there, and that's when I was introduced by a person named Steelhead. Steelhead introducing me to cocaine.
Nice nickname, eh?
Yeah, I don't know what I guess he was a pretty big guy, I was just sitting there snorting cocaine, and then I heard this enormous voice saying, "You're just wasting your time, or you're just wasting cocaine doing it that way." And I was like, what is this guy talking about? And that's when he showed me the other way of using the drugs. And
Wow.
I got caught up in it, and cocaine became my choice of drug.
And that thing slowly start destroying your already messed up
Right, my abilities,
life.
yes, by the usage of drugs, by the introduction of drugs into my life, it messed up I would consider it interfered with my abilities to be coordinated, to make the Swiss moves, to get these things and run in coordination. Now, cocaine demanded that I do more of this, and then that demand caused me to mess up and make errors in what I was doing. Eventually, those errors caused and I got incarcerated the first time. I had been incarcerated at boys' school, but that was just for stealing. But then eventually,
But serious charge. Now.
Serious.
We're
Now I'm
talking
going
about big things.
the big house now, yeah.
How long you been?
I was in there for 2 years.
2 years.
Right.
And did you learn something from that situation?
I didn't learn not to do the wrong thing. I just became an educated criminal.
Like went to college for that.
Right. They always say prison is a college. It all depends on what you kind of absorb. So I started studying and reading dictionaries, encyclopedias, psychology, the different books on doctoring, studying the biology of things, the creativity of things, how things function, breathing. I wanted to know. I was just absorbing all this knowledge because the library was free, and lifting weights. That's all I did was read books and lift weights.
And what happened when you got out?
Well, when I got out, because of the things that I had done, or because it was 4 years before I finally got caught. So, when I got out, my mother told me that I was no longer welcome in St. Petersburg, Florida, because the things that I was doing was unacceptable for that town. This was a tourist attraction place. Here I am, disturbing the flow of this lovely city. I think I had stolen within the 4 years over maybe $450,000 worth of such diamonds and jewelry, and so that was like no longer welcome to St. Petersburg, Florida. And so from that, my mother made arrangements for me to go to Boston, Massachusetts.
So you were banned from that city.
I was banned from St. Petersburg, Florida.
At
yeah.
what age?
This had to be like 19.
Wow.
So you figure
That's a big thing.
From 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 to 4 years.
Legally, if they saw in the streets, they just
Gotta go, yeah.
gotta go.
Gotta get out of St. Petersburg. So that's when I came to Boston, Massachusetts.
Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes.
Where we are now. But tell me what happened then.
So I was sent to Brookline, Massachusetts, which is a high-end suburban location in Massachusetts. Brookline, I think it's the wealthy people there. I went to go stay with my grandmother. I tried to work, but working a 9 to 5 wasn't giving me the money that I had been used to. I was used to having thousands of dollars in my pocket at all times. Here, you want me to work a job that was going to put $200 or $300 in my pocket and not give me the freedom to enjoy the lifestyle that I had been used to. So I started venturing out. I was like, I want to know what Brookline's all about. And I started venturing out into Brookline. And Brookline was similar to St. Petersburg, Florida, because it was a suburban area. Everything was relaxed. Buildings were open, safes were open. I was able to get into buildings. My first hustle in Brookline, Massachusetts, I was walking down the street and I walked into this building. This is like 7 o'clock in the morning, because I always said early bird gets the worm. So I was always up early to do my thing, And this building, I had this sense, because I would get this sense, the wolf instinct in me would kick in. And I had this sense, and I went inside the building, and it was an office building. And I checked I was checking doors, then I checked this one door, and it was open. And I went inside, and there was all these cubicles. I know what cubicles are. And I started rambling through these different cubicles, like, why am I here? And then I went into this one office, and on top of the table was an envelope stacked of money. I couldn't believe it. I was like, somebody left this
Right
money.
there.
Right
Waiting
there.
for you.
I think that was how they take the money and go to the bank? The manager, I think that's what the money that was on its way to the bank. I just happened to interrupt it, and I took that with stack of money. And
Wow, you hit the jackpot.
Jackpot.
And then what happened?
So that was, I took off. I entered out of the building and went into the flow of Brookline City, and that was when I had my first, I consider, my Boston continental breakfast. And I felt good. I was like, this is where I should be. This is the lifestyle that I want. So I continued.
King is back.
The king is back. The wolf is back.
Wow.
And then I started going down into Brookline. I would get up in the morning. You have to dress. I always dress the dress. The suits and the ties.
That is something
the
interesting
businessman.
about you. Like, you never use guns. You never use like knife or no. You try to like an actor.
Yes.
Can you describe us that? How came into your brain to, okay, I need to be the pretender now?
Right.
How was that? How start?
I wore many disguises. I wore many masks. I was a doctor, lawyers, teachers, philosopher. I was a businessman, executive. So I would get up in the morning, and I would have to dress this dress. Because this type of, if you're wearing this nice suit and a nice tie, and you got a nice gold watch and maybe a diamond ring, and your hair is nice and you're immaculate, people don't look at you as being a criminal. They're like, oh, this is a businessman. So I would use that to my advantage. I had to have this businessman look because I was an African American man, and I knew that was going to draw my attention. So how do I divert that attention? I dressed the dress of a businessman. I looked like a doctor. I remember when I would go, when I had my car, inside my trunk was my different masquerades. Doctor suit, lawyers. I had all these little things inside my trunk. So when I pull up into my place, what I was going to do, whatever would accommodate that, I would do. I was like, okay, so I'm at the hospital, so I have to be a doctor. So I would pull out my doctor's white coat, put my lab coat on. I'm already in my suit and tie, so I put my lab coat on, put a stethoscope around my neck. I get my 2 cross gold, my gold pen, my gold pencil, the pens, I put those in my pocket. Now I got the stethoscope. I got this. I grabbed the fake IDs that I had made and I got my fake ID and I pin it on, and then I get my bullet, my board, my clipboard.
You were very dangerous, man.
Yeah.
Very
And I
dangerous.
go in the hospital and I was Dr. Chen.
And you were like blending with all the staffs and
Yeah.
doing what? Like, tell me.
Okay, so I was blending with the staff. First, I wanted to have the knowledge was important. So a lot of libraries were in. A lot of hospitals had libraries. I
Okay.
would go into these libraries and associate with these doctors and let my face be seen, so they'll be used to seeing me.
And overlooking the situation,
Yeah,
how
see what
they
I was
act.
doing.
And okay.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so now I need to. That's when I was into the credit card game. That's when I started taking credit cards. So what better way to take a credit card than from the doctors and the nurses and going to these offices that was unoccupied because they were too busy doing their job. They can't carry around their pocketbook. When a doctor goes to perform surgery, he has to go in his scrub. So where is his
Yeah.
clothing at? His clothing is located in his office. And so what I would do, I would look at the bulletin board and see what doctors, because there's a bulletin board that says what each doctor is going to do for that, his task for that day. This Dr. Smith's doing surgery today, Dr. So-and-so is doing this. And I'll write these doctors' name down, and I would locate their office. So sometime I would go into their office, and there would be a secretary there, and I would play the role. Yes, I have this piece of paper for Dr. Smith. Can I? Oh, he's not in right now. Well, it's okay if I leave it in his office. He said, sure, doctor, go leave it in his office, because I'm playing the role. And I would go into his office, and I knew his pants and everything was there, and I would go in his
You're
wallet.
very slick too.
Oh, yeah. Slide right, like a fox, a wolf. That's why I was called the wolf. And I go in these doctors' offices, and I take I leave the money, never take the cash, because the cash sets off an alarm. I knew that. If you pull your wallet out, oh, my money's gone.
Yeah, and a stack of different credit cards. Nobody knows.
Nobody-
Yeah,
yeah.
it's true, but yeah, and then
I
you
go-
start.
Go shopping. I'll get like 2 doctor cards from this doctor, 2 cards from this doctor, maybe a couple of cards. I even get female cards, get 2, so I have 6 credit cards. You know how much the value of each card is?
Yeah, I imagine that.
Yeah,
like-
so you got 6 credit cards with at least $10,000 spending money.
And
I
what
got
year was
$60,000.
this?
Now this is more in a modern time. I was like maybe the 90s,
Yeah.
80s, yeah.
Internet wasn't there yet.
Yeah, it was just it was. I mean,
It was
computers
more
were just
like
being
reports
introduced.
from books, reports from the company.
Right.
Back in the day, they couldn't realize, oh, something is missing here because report hasn't come yet.
And plus, I understood that when you use a credit card, that if that usage goes to a mainframe computer, saying
Yeah.
that this person. So if I took 3 of your cards, I use one and then I put it behind. So I rotate it so it won't send an alarm. It's called unusual spending. So I knew to keep the unusual spending, to keep the red flag from coming up, was to use the card, put it behind. Use the card, put it behind. So by the time I get to the first card, 2 or 3 hours has gone by.
You were like
Yes, I was a different hustler.
totally different, very dangerous, especially for the society. But and what happened? Did you you were keep on using cocaine?
Yes, cocaine. Then from now it was no longer. It was yes, I was still using cocaine, but now I was using it the way it was being used during its time.
And that start changing your again, like
Right. I started hustling for the drug and started. The money was going so fast, I was like Black Kennedy, because I'm going into these drug dens with suits on and money in my pocket and women looking at me like, telling me, you have no business even being here. Why are you here? Look at you. And I don't want to hear that. I wanted my drugs.
yes. It's very interesting, like how we can realize inside out, like how to commit crime. It's kind of scary because no guns, no knife, nothing, just your
violence.
brain and your
Intellect.
acting
Right.
acting way. While we were talking about this at Leominster, you told me that you had a book.
Yeah,
You have a book. Show
I
me the
do.
book.
Here's the book. Excuse me. Ah.
Okay. Wolf Stories. Like this is in Kindle and Amazon.
This is on Kindle and Amazon. Wolf, a Hustler Story by
And-
Jimmy Boulders.
It's I read the book. It's very, very interesting. Has a lot of stories, and I recommend you. It's like
It's different. It's not.
it is different from what I've been reading all this time, and I recommend it to you. Yeah,
Yes.
and there's a lot of secrets too, right?
Yeah, there's stories in it about, how I was invited to a VIP party for Paul Pierce and what I did when I was at that party. It shows how I went about getting these items and, the life that I lived. And it's very interesting. It's, it's different from, it's no gang banging, there's no violence in it. It's like a man uses his intelligence to accumulate these items and how I went about doing that.
Okay, Jimmy, it's a nice surprise. And can you read this, like?
Yes, it's Wolf, a Hustler Story by Jimmy Boulders. It has 4 stars out of 4 stars on Amazon. So that should tell you right. It's different. People that have read it and gotten back to me have like, yo, this is the best book I've ever read. It's so different. And then there's a part 2 coming up. See, this is just part 1. There's another book coming up after this one. So enjoy the first.
Well, my friends, thank you for sharing this little time with us, and appreciate. And next time we will continue with the Radical Stories. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.